Good morning, everyone. Hello, Besnick. Hello, Lorena. Hello, Paula. Hello, Karen. Hello, Mark. Hello, Ethel. Hello, Lisa. Hello, Stella. Hello, Giovanni. Ciao. Hello, Anika. Okay, well, good to have all of you on. Hello, Melody. I thought what I would do is, I was barraged with a lot of awesome questions. I love questions. And I just wanted to go through those with you, and then I'm going to go through these with you because I want to answer some of these as we talk more about the ground today. Hello, Wen. Hello, Melody. Okay. This is from Clear. If you tint the transparent ground, would it keep its transparency and would it keep its color? Because the white, it changed the color a lot. So Clear, the transparent watercolor ground is one that you don't want to tint. It's really something that, and I'm gonna play with it today with you guys. For example, if I wanted to see this box meant something to me, I could put the transparent. In fact, I will put the transparent over the top of it, and you could read everything on this lid. Okay. So the transparent is really to put over the top of something that you want people, yourself, or people to see, and then do a painting on top of it. So you can get a coloring book, you could color, or a book. You could put the transparent over it. You could still read the words, and then you could do like a drawing. If it was Goldilocks, for example, and you're teaching your child to read, you might want to cover the page with the transparent. You could read through it, and then you could do a small drawing or painting so they could see the words and kind of the imagery that goes along with it. But it's not something you want to tint because you'll lose that transparent property. All right, good question. This from Doris, and I thought I would put this, is very interesting. I love the creativity. So Doris says, I've stopped using foam brushes, and I'm going to be using foam brushes today, but I think Doris's comment's really good. As they're non-biodegradable, instead I use the cheap wood bristle ones from hardware stores and wrap them foil overnight. Yes, actually my chemists also use bristle brushes. So very, very good suggestion. Renee asked me to use quinacridone pink today. And Claudia asked for lunar black. So I brought lunar black. I brought opera pink. So we'll play with the opera pink today inside of the ground. Can you show, this is from Kathy, can you show the transparent ground with a transparent watercolor? Yes. So what I did, darn it. I think the only one I didn't do was the transparent ground. So I'll have to do the transparent ground tonight. But I went and I did all the other ones. So we'll play with them today. Chris says, can you do a blue for the sky? I brought some blue, Chris. Under what circumstances would transparent be used? Really, just whatever type of creativity you want to use. If you wanted to put over this bottle and you wanted to see the words, you could use the transparent. Just For any reason you'd want to use it. No, no specific reason. Hello, Raffaele. Diana says, how quickly does it dry? 24 hours. It's a really good question, Diane. So the watercolor ground, I want to put this down so I can show you my hands here. Okay. The watercolor ground, when you put it down, it's 24 hours. And the reason is the water that's in the ground needs to go away because we don't want the water left there. So it takes about 24 hours. And the reason you don't use a heat gun or a, what do you call the thing for your hair? A hair blower is because you can change the nature of the polymer. The polymer flashes the water off, and then it has a coalescing agent so that the polymer ties together. And if you put heat on there, you can change that process. So it's about 24 hours is how long you want to wait. Let's see. Are the grounds for watercolor only? If you use it for anything other than watercolor, it's wasting your money. Could you put oil on top of them? Yes, but there's really no reason to do that. So it's more appropriate that they're used for watercolor because you're getting more bang for your buck. Sandy says, do you have full pans as well as half pans? No, Sandy, we only have half pans. Claudia, hello Claudia. Claudia says, how does granulating colors look and behave? Lunar black, for example. And I'm going to show you that today. So Claudia, I brought some lunar black, so we will play with that. Just to let you know, the Mars black is lunar black. Mars black and lunar black are the same thing. So Mars black is lunar black. All right? And we will play with a little bit anyway. We will play with some Mars black. I brought some. Some lunar black. I brought some to play with. Okay. Can you please put these under the surface? Yeah, so Gwen says, can you please put them on the surface? I will do that as much as I can, Gwen. It's a good suggestion. Thank you. Will the ground destroy your brushes? What if you wash them right away? If you use a, you certainly don't want to use a really good brush because it'll ruin it. But if you use a bristle brush, you should be able to get the acrylic out of it. It'd be really not a whole lot different than painting with acrylic on your house. It'll come off with water, but you'd probably want to do it right away, and just don't use a really good brush. Then there was a question, was it 10% by volume that can be mixed in? Yes, it's 10% by volume, not weight. Rin says, I used the white ground to cover canvas. It made it easier to accept watercolor. Absolutely great way to do it. So you can do it over unprimed, or you can do it over primed. You'd have to use less over primed than unprimed. Can I mix the Dennis with watercolor in the ground to change the color? Yes. So when that's tinting, and we're going to play some more of that today. Is it opaque? All of them are opaque except for the transparent. Then Gwen says, so the ground is creating the surface. Absolutely. It's the best way to look at it. The ground is creating a surface. Hello, Caroline. Doris, do you believe the transparent ground would damage old photographs? It shouldn't, but I would play with one that you're willing to have not turn out great. If I had a photograph, I would do it for you. It should work out just fine, but it's something just to try. Simeon says, I love transparent ground for watercolor stained collage. Awesome. Okay, with the pearlescent show through transparent watercolor. Yeah, so Cheryl, that's a really super good question. You really want to use the watercolor ground as a surface, not as a covering material. Because the ground has to flash off that water, you're going to put something which can make your, can reactivate your watercolor. So you really wouldn't want to do that. You want to use it as a surface material, or the titanium as a correction material. It'll work really well for that. Can you put the, I'll play with the pearlescent again today. Is the foam brush the best tool? You know, I used this brush, I bought this yesterday just to show you a different way of doing it, and it was horrible. I wanted to find a foam, little tiny foam one, and they didn't have it. And this just sucked up so much of the material because it's, where can I find my, it's kind of like a, it's like this, kind of like this material right here. And it just sucked up all of the material. I would strongly suggest not to use this. So I've been using the foam, and I've been having good results with the foam. Again, a couple of people suggested a cheaper brush that has bristles. That would work too. My chemist uses bristle brush. Since the substrate itself since a substrate can have acidic properties, this is James, should you first apply a polyurethane sealer? No, you don't need to. No, you don't need to do that. And the reason you don't is the watercolor ground is going to act as a sealer. Now below it, and on the back side of it, that's still going to have lignins. That's still going to be acidic, just as James has mentioned here. So that's a good insight on James. Do you use a dry or wet sponge to apply it? I use a sponge to play with it and to bring up patterns. That's how I've used a sponge. You could probably use a moist sponge. I've not tried that, so I can't say that's the way to do it. Okay, so those are really good questions. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I brought all new bottles, so because I ran out. I just want to show you one more time. This is a question, and I didn't get back to you as I said I would, so I'm going to get back to you. This is the Mccracken Black. This is the Mccracken Black. And you asked me its properties, and the properties of Mccracken Black, before we get back into grounds. It has a light fastness of 1, which means 100 plus years. It has a staining of 2, which means it's a low staining. Again, 2 means you can pick up the color, but it will leave a very light tint. Okay. Granulation. It has slight granulation. You can kind of see it in here. Very slight granulation. The opacity is transparent, so it's transparent. It has quite a few pigments. It has Prussian blue, transparent brown oxide, carbazole violet, quinacridone red, anthracanoid red, nickel azo yellow, and perylene scarlet. So probably the most amount of pigments we have in any color, and that's because Lauren wanted this color that you could actually warm up or cool down. And then it's a series 2. And so if you want that, I'll send it to you. But here it is. You asked about it. I didn't do that last time, so I apologize. Okay, so with that, I'm going to move that away. Oh yeah, of course I can. So Anna says, can you repeat those? Yes, the pigments are Prussian blue, transparent brown oxide, carbazole violet, quinacridone red, anthracanoid red, nickel azo yellow, and perylene scarlet. Okay? So I went to the hardware store. I love going to the hardware store. And I bought some sticks. I bought a whole pack of them. Bought this big pack for 99 cents. And they're almost like going to your doctor, kind of the same kind of like a tongue depressor, but real easy to mix, and they're only pennies a piece. Okay, so pretty good deal. All right, and then I also bought a whole bag of these foam brushes, and the whole bag of foam brushes was $5, and there's 9 brushes, so it was nine pieces for $5. I don't know if you can buy any brush for that price, so pretty good deal. I like some of the suggestions of how to use a bristle brush because you can reuse them, but if not, you can also use foam. Okay, so with that, I think we'll start to play a little bit. So Francisco, I hope that's not for me because I can't read. See, hello, the store, products. I'm gonna have to convert that. I think you're asking me where can I find the products where I live. So I will look at that. Okay, so I did play around with some of the ground, and I thought we would paint on it, and then I'll put the opera pink. I'll do some of the lunar that was suggested. So these were about 24 hours. This is just a single coat I did with a brush. I would probably end up putting another one over the top of it, but I just wanted to show you that's the Pearlescent. So you can see kind of how it sparkles. Not as much as the Pearlescent Shimmer, which is a larger particle size. Yes, I'll send that to you, Anna. No problem. Anybody else wants it, I'll send it today. Promise. So let's take a look at this. The bad thing is I only have one of these. I only made one of them. So let's look at, let's put a pyro on top of it. So if you have any questions I didn't go over on the watercolor ground, please let me know. You're asking some really great questions, and I appreciate it. So what you really want to see, hello Victoria. One thing you want to see is how tight the line is. There's no spiders, so it's behaving just the same way a sized paper would behave. In fact, this sized paper, you can see here, spidered a little bit. See that? That's spidering. So this, the watercolor ground, because how it's been created by the chemist, creates a very, very, very tight line, which is super interesting. So Caroline says, tip, remember your pigments take longer to dry on ground. That's going to be absolutely true because they're not going to be absorbed into the ground as quickly as paper. So thank you. That's good. Okay. So let me see. And we'll take some of the transparent today and put it over an object. So this is with more water. Again, you can do it any way you want. More water, less water. But the lines are super, super, super tight. Okay. Okay, so that was the pearlescent. You can kind of see it. And what I did bring today, just so it was brought up, one of the other viewers said it, and it was a great answer that she gave, so thank you. We have the watercolor gold iridescent ground. Okay, so this is iridescent. And we also have gold in gesso. Gesso and ground are absolutely different from each other. Gesso is made more for oils or acrylics. It's not permeable, so it would be more like a Yupo. The water would stay up on top, and if you ever hit it with water again, you would just wash your painting away. So not used really within watercolor. You would want to use this right here, which is the watercolor ground. And just kind of to show you, you're not going to tell the difference between the gold of both of them. If I moved it over, you can see how shiny and gold it is. It's my camera making this one a little bit more, but if I move this over, you can kind of see it's the same. It's the same. So, gesso, ground. Just thought you'd want to see that. All right. So here this is black. This is the Mars Black. The Mars Black sets down super, super, super flat. And again, that's that. It's the characteristic of the pigment. And this is the buff titanium. Now, what I didn't do, and you can certainly do, and it's my chemist does this, and I'll show you what. I have two chemists. I have Abigail and Ron. This is done by Abigail. And Abigail, you can add up to 10% water to your ground, okay? Up to 10%. And it's just flatter than flat. So this black is actually the Mars Black. And this is the actual paper. This is sized paper. This right here is the Mars Black. And you can see how absolutely flat it is. And that's because she brushes this out with a bristle brush, and she slightly adds a little bit of water to thin it down. You can do that up to 10%. If you're going to tint, you can't tint and thin it down with water. You could do one or the other. You can't do both. So in other words, you don't want to change the structure of the ground by any more than 10% by volume. Okay? So and this here came out, mine, super flat. You can see where I didn't hit it with the foam brush. I didn't take that up with the foam brush, but I can take that off with a piece of sandpaper. But it's really flat. So let's play with that a little bit. How about, I like bright colors. So I'm going to use some CAD-U. Man, that goes into solution so quickly. It's an awesome color. And I think on the black, I'm going to use a Hansa yellow. So the ground works awesome on things like, it'll work on anything, but it works really super great on wood. If I used an iridescent on this, the iridescent would just pop. So I could pop it with an iridescent. Yeah, it's very neat to use the iridescence on the black. So this is the same Mars Black on a piece of watercolor paper, but same principle. And those iridescents, and we know it's an iridescent because we can see it on this side. If it was transparent, it'd be an interference for the most part. Just a kind of a tip. So you can see how they really pop on that Mars Black. And they do the same thing here. On this right here, I could have put this on a can. I could have put it on a jar. Pretty much anything. Okay. So I also want to let you know, since I get asked this question a lot, Daniel Smith Manufacturing doesn't sell to end customers. We sell to retail stores and distributors. And there's quite a few retailers in California, Arizona, I believe Nevada, and it's posted on Instagram, and I believe it's going to be posted here. If not, you want to know, let me know, and I'll send you where they're at. But these stores have the color charts. I know many of you want the color charts, and they have them, and you can go inside their store and get them if you want them. If you want the name of the stores in California, Arizona, and a couple other states, I'm glad to send that to you. Okay, so buff titanium, this is Mars Black. So the next one I did, this is titanium white. And so one coat of titanium white. And I went both ways. If I didn't want the lines, I could have probably smoothed it out with my foam brush better. But let's play with that. I'm gonna use a bigger brush. And then we'll do some mixing. We'll play around. So next week, I won't be online next week. I'm moving, and I'm sure all of you have gone through the moving process. That's something I'm not. And one part of me is looking forward to it, another part of me is kind of dredging it a little bit. Dreading, not dredging, dreading. Okay, so this is the titanium white ground. And I probably could have, I need to use more water. I probably could have mixed my ground by 10% to make it have full coverage, but I just put on one coat just because I wanted something to show you today. Okay. And then we'll use this in Danthrone to do some tinting as well, a couple minutes. So normally I throw that stuff on the floor, but boy, it's not going to do that today. Okay, titanium white. And this right here is the buff titanium. Okay, buff titanium. A lot more vibrant here in front of me. So it's the buff titanium. Now I got to make sure it's the buff titanium. This is gold. This is the gold. No, this is titanium white with quinacridone gold. Titanium white with quinacridone gold. So we can put some gold on top of this just so you kind of see the difference. So this is tinted. So let's use a little brush. So it's actually quite bright in front of me. And I wouldn't put ground on top of ground because it's just wasting your money. I just wanted you to show you what the tint looks like versus the gold. So that gold just pops. This is a pretty good color right here, the titanium white with the quinacridone. Looks kind of like a peach. But that gold just pops. It's just bright. So gold, and this is a tint. Okay. Then here's one I did. This is wood, and it had a drawing on it, and I put a single thin coat. So I didn't put a second coat. I'm a fan of thin, and it came out very smooth. Here is where I kind of I took a foam brush, and I lifted up the titanium white to give it kind of a design. If you wanted to do that, you could give a design and just pick it up. Another coat, and this would be all gone. So we can look at that. Let's look at that for a second. Then I think we'll go ahead and we'll tint some more, so you can see some more tint. I think the ground and the sticks are probably the two things that the most questions are asked about. So you can see where I didn't add enough of the ground, so it's hitting these thin spots, and that's because I only put on a thin coat. If I was going to do this, I actually would have put on a second coat. But even with one coat, you can see how tight. There isn't any hairs going on. It just holds a really super tight line. Can you hear me? I'm not always sure whether you can hear me or not because I don't see there's no little gauge that goes up and down. So if you could tell me you can hear me, I'd appreciate it. Let me make sure my microphone's on. Yep. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and let's do some mixing and playing. don't know if you've ever had these cookies, but they're absolutely delicious. So let's do transparent pearlescent. Oh, you know, we'll play with, see, I have the gold already on a brush, so let's play with some of the gold. And let's play with the transparent. Okay, we'll do both. Whoops. Huh. Okay, so this is going to be the gold. And I would just put on a thin layer on, because this is so smooth. I would put a thin layer on and then come back with another layer. You guys are so good in getting back to me. I think somehow I lost my... I think I lost my connection, maybe. Okay, and this is going to be the transparent. Okay. Okay. I'm thinking... I think I lost everybody.